I'm Hannah from Custom Wig Company. Normally, I would be meeting you on a crisp autumn day on the beautiful grounds of Locust Grove, but since that couldn't be possible this year, I wanted to use this video to show you a bit of what you might have seen if you were visiting my tent at Market Fair. We at Custom Wig Company make wigs for all sorts of occasions and characters, from delicately crafted hand-tied wigs that make you look as if you grew the hair of a historical or fictional character out of your own head, to tiny wigs for puppets and dolls, to our best recreations of wigs that existed in the past. Today I'm going to show you a bit of our process for creating an 18th century style man's wig. Our historical wigs are made using techniques from the period, so that even should the wearer remove the wig while in character or display it on a stand, it will look and feel period correct from all angles.
Instead of using our usual selection of machine-made nets, these caps are hand-netted out of linen thread, using a wooden gauge and a small metal shuttle. This technique is the same used to make fishing nets, albeit at a much smaller scale. The process is incredibly old. Examples have been found of fishing nets made in a similar way from around 10,000 years ago. While it can appear complicated, the netting knot quickly becomes second nature, and the tools quickly feel like an extension of the netter's hands. The gauge holds a few previous stitches and ensures that each row of holes ends up the same size. The shuttle carries a large amount of thread through areas where even the most dexterous fingers would struggle. And in the meantime, the netter's fingers hold loops below the gauge in order to ensure that the shuttle has enough room to work and that each part of the knot tightens at just the right moment in order to create a neat final product. Let me slow that down for you. First, I wrap the thread under the gauge, catching it with my finger below the gauge and my thumb above, and bring it up over the netting so that it surrounds the area where the next knot will be formed. Then the shuttle comes up through the loop I just created and behind the gauge, passing through the next loop from the previous row. At this point, the knot is formed, and it's just a matter of tightening it down. First, my thumb releases the excess thread. Then my middle finger releases, allowing the thread to tighten around the gauge. Finally, I will release my ring finger and gently draw the knot tight. In order to keep the rows as complete rings rather than forming a continuous spiral, each row ends with a collecting knot, where the working thread is tied off together with a thread tail that started at the very beginning of the process. Once that is tied off, the gauge is moved below the final knot and a new row can begin. When the netting is complete, it is attached to a skeleton of linen tape, which helps give the wig shape and structure. In the 18th century, the heads holding the foundation would have been made of wood, skillfully carved into different head shapes and sizes. Nowadays, we use heads made of canvas, and pat it out to the shape of the client's head using not very historical plastic molds. It might not be as beautiful as a hand-carved wooden head, but it does allow us to get a very precise fit for each wearer. Once we have a foundation to work with, it's time to start adding hair. For this wig, we are using natural white yak tail. The hair of yaks, which are native to the Himalayas and came to Western attention through trade with and the colonization of the Indian subcontinent, was a popular material for wigs in the 18th century. Horsehair, goat hair, and of course human hair were also all commonly used, with human hair being the most expensive and horse the least. Weaving, or wefting hair, is the process of turning loose hair into strips that can be sewn onto a foundation. Like netting, this is a technique that is still around in the making of high-end wigs and extensions. We don't only use it for historical wigs, but for many other projects as well, when machine-made wefts aren't available in the color or texture we require, or just won't do the job. Although machine-made weft is widely available, it just isn't as delicate or flexible as the handmade stuff. Also like netting, once this technique enters your fingers, it is with you forever. While we often say that we are tying this hair, no knots are actually involved. Each clump of hairs is woven between 3 taut linen threads in a specific pattern. Once tightened down, the tension and the natural friction between the hairs and the thread keeps everything in place. With thousands of netting knots tied and thousands of clumps of hair woven, we can now assemble the wig by attaching pieces of weft, now tied off at the ends to prevent unraveling, to our linen foundation. That leaves us with a head of hair that can now be styled into the perfect 18th century gentleman.
I hope that you enjoyed learning about how we create 18th century wigs here at Custom Wig Company. If you would like to see more of our work or commission a wig of your very own, you can visit us at customwigcompany.com or follow us on Instagram or Facebook.